All right, welcome back to the Welcome to Experience Radio Show. I have the distinct honor and pleasure to speak to a great woman here that's a leader of something that is an issue that's our community, prevalent in our community. She is the founder of Purple House Project PA, and I want to give a big shout out to our founder here today, Miss Christine Joy. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. For those on Instagram Live, her partner, Yolanda Jennings. Okay, we go. She on here now. Mm-hmm. Okay.
She on Facebook.
All right, so Yolanda Jennings could not make it to the studio, but she joined us on Facebook Live as well. So hopefully she's adding here. It's adding. All right, so we want to have a conversation about, you have an event that Saturday coming up, and we want to talk about how this whole thing came about, the Pearl House Project. And I know Miss came to the message. There she is. Hey,
how you doing?
Good. I'm glad you could be in the studio.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah. It's crazy, man. Yeah. So now you're both on here now. So basically, for Instagram Live, the young is on my Facebook Live. So that's why. So I want to ask both of y'all, where to begin, but how this project came about. This project.
I can start. So I started Purple House Project back in 2000, and I'd say I was like pregnant with it in 2015, but I gave birth and it became incorporated in 2016. I've always had a passion for domestic violence, witnessing firsthand the trauma that happens when people experience domestic violence, and I wanted to be a part of something that could help heal the process. And so I started it back in 2016. This is going to be our 5th year in October.
Oh, wow.
And we started with the mission to strengthen, empower, and transition women who experience domestic violence. So when we first started, it was mostly with like survivors, but then as the years grew, we decided to not only deal with survivors, but also like their loved ones that are impacted, because oftentimes people who are in domestic violence relationships, it's not just the survivor who's affected, but it's the children, the sister, the uncle, the aunt. And so we wanted to provide a service that could treat everyone. So we go into local women's shelters, we educate, we empower, each year we have a different initiative that we do. So like last year, our initiative was around like period poverty, worked really well with Makia Outland. I know she is a guest on the show. And so this year, our mission and initiative has been like a community garden at a local women's shelter in North Philly as well. And so,
where in North Philly?
21st and Tioga.
Okay.
Yeah, so right in North Philly. So each year we have like a different initiative that we do, and all of it is, catered to domestic violence, because we know that domestic violence doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's things that go along with it. There's, different, socioeconomic status, health, wellness, and so we try to treat like the whole issue.
Wonderful. So, Yolanda, how'd you get involved with this project? How'd you get involved?
I got involved. I met Christine a couple of years ago at an event, and we just immediately just hit it off. And then Christine has been a big supporter. She was a big supporter of me. And when I was with Highsville Haven, and then last year, she reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in being on her board of directors. And so that's how I ended up being a part of this. It's really been a blessing. And as you know, me, I'm a survivor myself. I also lost my sister to domestic violence. She was murdered in 2004 by her fiance, and then my cousin got murdered in 2019. So domestic violence awareness that's my life. Like, it's just a part of me at this point.
Wow. Yeah, it's a lot to take in to deal with. Y'all mentioned about how it affects the family and children, because I work with kids, and a lot of times you see the signs of impact when the kids do something wrong. It's like kind of weird. Okay, where did you get that from? So So I know y'all focus on women. Um, in terms of shelters, there's going to be a point, or if we have already started already, as addressing men who get domestic violence.
So right now, I like to outsource. I like to speak from my experience, like expertise, and I feel like my experience and expertise has been with women. But there are lots of amazing organizations that deal with men, and so sometimes I've gotten a few phone calls where there's been a dad whose daughter was abused, and like he asked me what to do, and so like I shared with him my input and my ideas. And then there's also so many great organizations that I refer out to. So there's an organization formerly known as like Minergy, or Lutheran Settlement House has a section that's called like Men Can, and so like I like to refer out whenever like it's something that I'm not familiar with. But like anybody can come and access our services, and if we don't know the answer, we're more than happy to connect them to a resource that will best serve them.
So it said both of y'all have been survivors of domestic violence.
So I personally, so it's like my mom and my grandma.
Okay. Yeah, but you've seen that.
So I've seen it, and so like the residual,
There's a little fast and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So as you were going, you was there with it, seeing that.
Yeah.
What was your mindset going through that at that time, seeing that? What was that experience like? I know you was like a teenager or a young adult or adolescent. What was that like seeing that? And you knew what probably was wrong, but what was going through your mind at that time?
I think one of the hardest things for me, and what I like to push, is that like oftentimes women who are experiencing domestic violence, they still like get up and go to work. They still get up and do their sleep, and they never really treat the trauma.
Yeah.
And so as a result, I feel like it often, those wounds like continue like until adulthood. And so for me with domestic violence and like witnessing it, and like not it just being like physical abuse, but it was like the financial, it was the mental, it was the psychosocial, stuff. And so witnessing that wanted me to not only just address it, but like treat it at its core, because I feel like we as a city, we as a state do a great job at providing emergency services. And so like oftentimes if someone's in a domestic violence relationship, we can tell someone about a shelter, even though, oftentimes people get turned away from the shelter, but there are shelters there. We can give them a food voucher. But like what happens after that they leave that domestic violence relationship? And that's what we like to focus on. Like we want to empower them, like to help them transition, because it says the average woman returns back 7 times, and I believe that's because there's not systems set up to like help her thrive once she leaves. So like, say for example, we recently had a woman who called us and said, hey, I'm in a domestic violence relationship. She left her partner, which is great. However, now she can't afford childcare for her kid, and so as a result, her kid can't go to school. You know what I mean? And so like we want to put like systems in place where like, okay, so now you're out of this relationship. Here's a program that we can directly connect you to here to help with, your childcare, your mental health, your food insecurity, your housing. Helping. We want to help with like independence. And so for me, I think like seeing that, I feel like our city as a whole only does like emergency services and doesn't really follow the women after, was one of the biggest reasons why our mission is to strengthen, empower, and transition.
The transition, they don't do it. They deal with the emergency, but they don't deal with after effects. Okay, I got out of it, man. What can I do? How can I transition myself as a woman or a man to get to the place where I should be? You know what I mean? So I think
to be whole again.
There we go. There you go. Be whole, be free, and not be bound. I think that's very, very important. So Yolanda,
yes,
we know each other. I know kind of your story about you being a survivor, and I remember you sharing with my kids 2 years ago, and it really touched my kids in a way that impacted them at that time. So, like a lot of times we said, I don't want to go back. So, what gave you strength at that time to leave? Because a lot of times I don't know. What depends on what time. What gave you the strength to leave and not go back?
Well, first of all, I never was one to I was in a situation where if it was my choice, I would have been out of it the first time.
Right.
However, this person at that time, this was like almost 20 years ago, and back then you could go to the when I went to the police, they said that it would take me uh, two 2 weeks before I could even get a PFA, and I was afraid for my life. I'm just being honest. I
Yeah.
was afraid for my life. And so, you know, it took multiple times of, uh, you know, just trying to get safe because he would stalk me. Um, and so initially I wanted to leave the first time. It was
Right.
no,
Right.
you know, but I was scared. And a
Mm.
lot of times people don't understand. People say, why doesn't she just leave? Well, it's not always that simple. Okay. You know, it was threats to myself. It was threats to, you know, my family. Um, and it was other situations that was playing out in this whole thing that was way above anything that I had ever experienced before. And so thankfully, when it was all said and done, um, uh, it was a situation where he had cornered me. And it was two gentlemen who ran up on him. And that was the last time that he was able to get me. But it was just by the grace of God that the police had caught him on some other charge. And he ended up going to prison. And that's my story. That's how I was able to get away.
Mm.
He ended up getting arrested on another charge and went to prison. And so it was never for myself. Uh, you know, it was just fear. It was fear. I lived in constant fear. If I walked down the street, if a man said hello to me, that was a butt whooping. Okay. Um, and so a lot of people don't understand, you know, and then it's the mental, you know, he even went so far to try to everything he tried to tear me down um until till that till I had nothing of myself. Um, you know, he told me, "Oh, you know, you're a horrible mother. You don't need to have your kids. You all this kind of stuff." And that's what people don't understand. And a lot of the mental abuse um, along with the physical abuse. And for me, I feel like the emotional abuse for people. I thank God that I was strong enough to know that the things that he was saying about me was not, you know, true. But some other people who may end up being in that situation for years and years and years, we don't know the backstory. You know, people just make assumptions, but we don't know the fear. We don't know what they're going through behind closed doors.
Mm.
It's so it really angers me when people say, why doesn't she just leave? Because it's never that simple. It's never, ever that simple. Because you don't know what kind of threats and physical abuse and whatever has happened behind closed doors.
Wow. First of all, thank you for sharing that because I think that gives insight to a lot of women who like probably be in situation. I really appreciate you sharing that because a lot of times we don't know what to do. We have the same emotions, same feelings. We don't know how to get out of the situation. So, but thank you for sharing that, Yolanda. I think that will help someone today that's watching this, you know, listen to it right now about how to get out of it, how to, I know there is fear. There is some common night. They're not by themselves. And I think that's very, very important.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. So the next question I was waiting both of you to answer. What are some? Okay, I'm trying to learn domestic violence. It's either it comes out of the blue, or it's like out of the sudden. What are some signs that women can look, see, or men can see in something that the relationship can go left? That somewhere that I need to get out. I need to have a plan to get out of the situation now. You know, it's like instead of like waiting see changes or whatever, what are some signs, like so like red flags or yellow flags? I'll say yellow flags, obviously. That would say, look, I don't feel comfortable. What should I do? How do I get out of the situation? How can I plan fitting to get out? So.
Yeah. So I feel like I often like to share with people that there's a difference between like a toxic relationship and a domestic violence relationship. And so one of the biggest things that people talk about when they talk about domestic violence is about power and control.
Okay.
And so when there's like an unequal distribution of power and control, and so that often looks like, you know, your partner always wanting to know about your whereabouts. So there's one thing for when, like, you know, out of natural concern, you want to know, like, oh, you know, if your partner got somewhere safely. But then there's another thing, if you're constantly calling them like every 5 minutes to check in on them. Ooh. Another warning sign is like isolation. It's like in the beginning, your partner was like, you know, had all kinds of connections with like families and friends, and then their abusive partner or their potential abusive partner like tries to like isolate them from their friends and family. Like that's another warning sign as well. I would say another warning sign is like financial as well. If they like begin to become super controlling over the finances, or do not want you to have your own autonomy or your own independence, I feel like that's like another warning sign as well, because like with this domestic violence, they say happens in like a cycle where there's like a conflict and there's like a honeymoon stage and then there's like escalation again. And so one of the things that the reason why people are able to, you know, be successful with like being abusive to their partner is because they've already like did the work beforehand, right? So they've already isolated them from their loved ones. Ooh. They've already like controlled their mind to, you know, make them think that they need them and like they can't do anything without them and those kinds of things. So I would say like warning signs are like control, isolation. Yolanda, what would you say?
Love bombing. When they, you know, like really fast. Like one of the big things for me, I get real like standoffish with somebody immediately. They start talking. They barely even know you, and they start talking about they love you, and they start making all these plans, but you barely even went out on a first date. You know, that's considered like love bombing, and they'll. And if it's way over too much to me, this is my thing. You know, it's great to have somebody to do things for you and all that kind of stuff, but you got to be real cautious when you just met somebody and they want to just shower you with all this gifts and affection, because a lot of times those gifts, especially for young people, I'm going to say this because there's a lot of young girls who get caught up with these men, and a lot of older men oftentimes, because they get caught up on them buying them all this stuff and giving them all this stuff. And I keep it real. I wouldn't say that I'm more of a person who like to keep it real versus Christine is a social worker. I'm just a regular I'm just a regular person who's been through this. Right. And for the young people, I just want them to understand that nothing is free. Okay. You got to be very careful when these men want to give you all this money and buy you all this stuff right off the bat. You got to be careful. That's a red flag to me. And I see it way too often, you know. I want people to learn how to be independent, but not independent to the fact of saying, oh, I don't need no man, not that kind. But independent where if you allow, a lot of men look for women who are needy, who they think are needy, and they prey on those women. A lot of times, a lot of the young girls who never had a father figure in their life, they prey on these young women, and they want to be their father figure, but it's this whole controlling thing. And so that's one of the things I just want to say, you know, the love bombing part, you know, don't get so excited about somebody who want to shower you with all this stuff and they don't even really know you.
Wow. That's what I learned learned today. That love bombing and just showering gifts and knowing you. It takes time to get know someone, the process, and fill them out. Like what their attention, what their long term attention is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. What they vision is, what their mission is to have you in your life. Are you there for? Are you gonna be there for a short term, or do he see you as a long term person, and that's maybe you can build something with? And is he able to share your dreams with you? His dreams, his burdens, his sins. You know what I mean? Like if he ready to share that, I mean that's like he shared his deepest fears, and maybe you got a winner, but at the same time you got, like you said, take the mindful and be mindful controlling the finances of isolation. You know what I mean? That's very, very deep, very, especially young girls who are dating older men. You know what I mean? Like, because they don't have that father figure at home to show them how to love the right way, how to show love the right way, and trying to get attention, trying to get all this stuff. You know what I mean? And flashes stuff. But in the day, that goes away. But your internal yourself does not go away. You got to work on yourself daily. You know, gifts comes and goes, but your life matters so much. And then being around the right people matter, especially in times like this, and domestic violence and things like that. So, so my question for y'all two is,
oh wait, can I add?
Go.
I just like to add to that, like, domestic violence doesn't discriminate, right? So
it does not.
Very independent women who have amazing jobs and amazing careers fall victim to domestic violence, and I've seen very, very vulnerable individuals as well. And so it's important to remember that, like, domestic violence doesn't discriminate against race, gender, socioeconomic status. The abuse looks different, you know, so, you know, in a more wealthier, you know, community, the financial abuse might look a lot different versus in a lower socioeconomic, but, like, just remember that, like, it's, you know, it doesn't discriminate. And so that's awesome.
Yes, exactly. So I think you told me about the event. So about that Saturday event, right? Did you tell me about the event that Saturday?
No, we didn't talk about it yet.
I'm sorry. I thought we did. Okay, so can y'all talk about the event y'all doing that Saturday? I know you partnered with City Council person Kendra Brooks.
Yes.
Was a great person. Yes, can you talk about your event that Saturday?
Yes, so we're super excited. So each year, Purple House Project hosts an annual awareness walk / resource fair. We call it Purple Path, and throughout the years, it's added the My Purple Path. And so it's usually an awareness walk / resource fair that happens in Delaware County typically, but this year we decided to move it to Philadelphia for a few reasons. One, because we have the community garden in Philadelphia, and a lot of the work that we've been doing this year has been in Philly. And then two, because Yolanda was able to get us like a partnership with Councilmember Kendra Brooks, and so we decided to like move it in Philly in her area, which is also near the community garden.
Wonderful.
So Purple Path, we usually in the past have walked around a track 7 times because it said to symbolize the average woman 7 times before she leaves a domestic violence relationship. This year we've decided to walk from 20th and Tioga to Broad and Huntington Park. We'll be walking with elected officials, community members, as well as, you know, our partners in this work. And then we'll be ending at Broad and Huntington Park. And at Broad and Huntington Park,
Old York Road in Huntington Park. Old York Road.
And we'll be having like all kinds of resources at the park at Huntington Park. They will like be social services. They will be all kinds of vendor services. We have every kind of vendor you can think of, from like t-shirts to children's books, and everything in between. So we're super excited. We have over 35 vendors. We have about like 20 social service agencies. Like Community Behavioral Health, the Red Cross, Esperanza, and so we're really excited to like, you know, have that there. And then we also will have a keynote speaker. We will have a few special guests come out and speak about like their lived experience with domestic violence. And then we'll have a safety defense demonstration as well. So it's gonna be from 12 to 4 on October the 1st. It's a free event for the community. If you want to donate, donations of $25 more, people will receive like a complimentary t-shirt, We have all kinds of paid sponsors, and then we'll have like little snacks for everyone too. So, and then, you know, like you mentioned earlier, Councilmember Kendra Brooks, along with a whole slew of other organizations, have been like really instrumental in like putting it together as well. So, Yolanda, you want to add anything?
No, I think you covered it. But it's just make sure it's Old York Road in Hunting Park.
Is that the center of the park? I thought that was the parking lot.
No, the park is at Old York Road in Hunting Park. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Old York Road. Yep. It's right by the rec center. Like if you go into the Hunting Park, it's like a rec center right there. And we'll have a yellow and purple balloon arch, so you won't be able to miss us.
Wow, wonderful. So it's October 2nd, October 1st?
October 2nd. I'm sorry.
You said first. Oh, the first was fine.
No. October 2nd. Thank you for catching that.
Okay. So who's the keynote speaker?
Lakia Natasha.
Okay.
Your wife knows her pretty well.
Yeah.
She's one of our biggest supporters. She's a survivor of domestic violence. She's a licensed clinical social worker. And she will be talking about, so our theme this year is keep digging. And so she'll be talking about why it's important to keep digging in the midst of trauma.
Yes.
And so we felt like now more than ever was so important for us to encourage people to keep on going, keep on digging.
Yes.
Because, life has been crazy for all of us these last 2 years, but you know, we want to shed hope, and you know, that's what Propel's project is all about, like sharing resources and like shedding hope as well, and like joy. So that's our keynote speaker, and like we'll have other, like Kendra Brooks is going to like speak.
Awesome.
You know, we have this man named Mr. William who has a daughter who was killed by domestic violence, and so he's going to share like with his experience. Yolanda will be speaking. So we'll have a whole awesome lineup.
Go ahead, Yolanda.
Yep. And we have a young lady who is 13 years old, and she's going to be doing a self-defense demonstration.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. Wonderful.
Hopefully you could come.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely try to come support that. So yes, I definitely advocate. My wife is domestic violence survivor. So you know, it's just. This is something that she's passionate about as well. So
she's been super supportive with Propel's project even before you met her. She donated. I remember our first ever Purple Patch. She donated to it.
Wow, wonderful.
Back in 2016. So
wow.
Fatima has been supportive, like behind the scenes, over the last 5 years.
Yes, that's kudos my wife. So yes, question. I just came in my brain. I just came in my head. Do y'all see yourselves doing like a conference for young ladies about domestic violence? Because just the like, literally came in my head, like, because about when women come together, being healed, you know what I mean? Workshops with the woman and the mom, you know what I mean? Just so like they had speakers coming in, vendors, resources. Like I kind of see like a conference of women coming together, all different races coming together in a safe space to let go. To let go of everything. Just be, they come there, be there, and then leave free. And then the kind of retreat have like then that day they get like a mentor to help get accountability, keep track of them. You know what I mean? Not lead them and not help them get them a mentor or a coach that will work with them for like a year to see how they go, how's it going, check on them, how they, you know, just help them transition, help them deal with those traumas, deal with the after effects of it. That even if they're not victims, but they see it affects them, like a daughter, or like I'm seeing their mom do it. You know what I mean? So like, or a cousin, or like a dad lost their daughter. You know what I mean? So something like that, because our young girls. But from my experience, like from when I was working with kids before the pandemic, they were hurting. They were needing love, and I remember one of the workshops they did. They talked about we did self-love. We did ask them, hey, what do you love about yourself? Yeah. And it's hard for most of the girls coming with one thing about themselves. So like, you know, we got the boys, but they got like 2, 3. The woman, it was like Carl one for them because they were so maybe traumatized of being told you're not good enough or seeing that they're not good enough and seeing hurt and didn't know what to do, you know, or didn't know how to compound it to how to address that in a way to say something, you know. So I kind of see like a conference or like a retreat where they go there to get healed and start to let shadow because a lot of times women, I say men, so I always say men because men carry that stuff. We carry that stuff to adulthood, and we lose opportunities of friendships of people that want to know us who we are, but we got a lot of stuff we deal with. We know how to address it and flush that out. So that's I'm about bringing that cycle now. Like instead of carry that cycle to adulthood, like they see someone 6 years old. They carry that them to like 36, right. And then they'll have relationships, and you could have done with that at 6, right. You know, or resource at 6 years old. Okay, now I can deal with this at 6, so I'm going to carry this with me to my new high school or college or meet with new people. It won't be a hindrance on me. Right. So that's.
I love that. I love that idea.
Yeah, because like I said, because I'm advocating for women. I just want our women to be whole and not deal with stuff that men have dealt with that put her down. You know what I mean? I do not condone violence, period. I do not condone it at all because it's not right. It's unhealthy. It's sickening to me. But I want our women to know, to win. I want them to be free and whole. A lot of times we carry a lot of stuff. Right. We don't have to. We carry a lot of baggage, and we want the people that run us to deal with it. You know, like, to accept this, okay, but it's not okay, but you got to deal with it. You know, you got to get some strategies in place to flush that out and process that, you know, so you won't be a danger to yourself or the people that want to be your life, that want to love you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. That's my y'all, man. I thought y'all saw that. Yes, but so my question is, besides they got an event next week, what's next for your AfterWorks event? After this event, what do you have seen planned for the fall after October 2nd?
So we have our community garden at the local women's shelter, and so we're going to be doing cookies, programming, growing our garden. And then we're also, the funds that are raised at this event, we're going to use that to start our capital campaign. So right now, Purple House Project does not have a building, a physical building. Oh, wow. We go to different organizations. Oh, wow. And so the money raised, we're looking to finally purchase a building or rent a building or rent a space so we can offer all the things that we usually do mobily in one house. So that's part of the reason that Purple House Project is called Purple House, like to literally have all the services in one house, because oftentimes it's really difficult if you're like leaving a domestic violence relationship and you gotta go here to get your social service needs, and here for your medical needs, and here for your child care, and here for like food. We want to be able to offer as much as we can like in-house, so that like people literally just gotta do like one-stop shop. Yes. And then we also want to look into like beginning like a transitional housing program. We recently received like a partnership with a local mortgage company. And they're going to help. Thank you. They're going to help the ladies that we work with become homeowners. And so that's our next goal too, to like develop a partnership with the local women's shelters. Like after the ladies leave the shelter and they're able to get a job or become an entrepreneur that'll pay them a living wage, we want to help them become like homeowners as well. So those are like our long-term goals. And then like I said, the building is kind of like a midterm, and then like the community garden, and it's growing as like our short-term goal. Okay, where people can find more information about y'all, about the organization and the great things you are doing? So we are on social media: Facebook, Purple House Project PA Inc., Instagram, Purple House Project, and then on our website www.purplehouseprojectpa.org. Yolanda, can you drop the links to all of our stuff in the comments?
Yeah, after this.
Yep. So that's where you can find us. We're all over the internet.
Well, that's good. That's good. So my last question, our artist, that's my guest for this last question. Both of y'all, y'all do a lot of work for the community. Y'all advocates for domestic violence. You're advocates for women, trying to get back to way of living after being hurt. There's a lot of work, it's a lot of responsibility, and a lot of time to do that. So what do y'all do for self-care?
Yolanda, you want to go first?
Me, I just like to, you done put me on the spot.
I can go first.
Go ahead. He threw me off on that one.
So for self-care, I have a 6-year-old who I absolutely love. Okay. His name is TJ. Aww. And so I love going on like different adventures with my son. I love being outdoors. Like the outdoors